finally get to see a little more of him again, other than in the team league where he has been doing amazing for his brand new organization. But first up, we're going to take a look at our Swedish man in the top right side of 2000 atmospheres. He often struggles making it into DreamHack, but then once he's there, he does pretty good. This is SortOf.
And in the bottom left-hand side, you can find him on twitch.tv/Lambo King. It is Lambo, the king. Yeah, absolutely. Good man. So both players are going to be going for a hatch first at 16 here.
Nothing too crazy. Maybe in some of the smaller maps, we'll see some early pulls coming out of SortOf. I think if anyone is going to do something wild, it should come out of SortOf, right? As Lambo being the favorite, I don't really see why he would take any risk in this CBC.
Yeah, I think so. And SortOf has been known to be a very strong macro player in the past and kind of like didn't mix it up. But after he went to Korea a couple of times, we've really seen his playstyle change to where he will mix in those aggressions. So yeah, I think if we're gonna see anyone be aggressive, it's probably gonna be SortOf in this series. And yeah, Lambo a little bit more cautious probably. Like you said, being the favorite kind of gives you that advantage, right? Or disadvantage to some degree also, right? Because you have to be scouting and you have to be proactive, and it's on you to kind of mess up.
Yeah, SortOf definitely spent a lot of time in Korea over the last few years, but I always had the feeling that SortOf just truly enjoyed living in Korea. I think he had a girlfriend for a bit, probably a big fan of the food. Korea is a lovely place, but obviously just being there doesn't make you better at StarCraft. You really need to put in the work too. And I wasn't sure if SortOf was always out there grinding each and every single day. I had the feeling he was just enjoying himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always seen SortOf as kind of a very hard worker as far as StarCraft is concerned, but he doesn't always have the motivation, right? Like he sometimes gets down and is kind of hard on himself, especially when he underperforms relative to expectations. And again, expectations from practice are that he can beat a lot of these guys, right? Like he may not win most of the time, but maybe he should be winning from his perspective more often than he is, or just loses in ways that he feels are really silly. And yeah, I don't think his practice usually has translated into being as good as he can be in tournament play. But he's a hard worker.
SortOf is going up to 3 bases in a horizontal way, while Lambo is taking the triangle expand. What do you make of that?
I think that the triangle is going to be a little bit easier to defend with Muta, for instance. I think that it's a little bit further up front as well, so I guess it's a better staging point from roaches, and the horizontal is usually a little bit more defensive, but given the positions, I mean, if SortOf took the triangle base, I think that they would actually be further away from each other. So
that's a lot of Zerglings coming out of Lambo already. It's quite early. The Baneling Nest is close to finishing up. He's got 2 Zerglings stopped into the top side of the map. Those Lings can already morph into offensive Banelings. And it's important for SortOf to start picking up on this, as he's been building nothing but drones. A 7 worker advantage is nice, but can we keep our hatchery alive?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did he see this attack move out with the Overlord, or was it a little bit mispositioned? Because, okay, he morphed only 2 Banelings, which is maybe a little bit surprising. There is 14 Lings now in production, but only 6 just starting now. So 8 are going to pop out, and that's not necessarily going to be enough. Let's see what Lambo does. He is not really reinforcing this too much, but 1 Baneling kind of wasted. And when I say wasted, I mean to the credit of Lambo, there with a very nice split. Lambo looking for an opening now into the natural base of SortOf, and will actually wiggle his way in with 2 Banelings, but this shouldn't do too much.
That was sick. Yeah? He actually attacked the super low HP Baneling with a drone, and then there was only a single Baneling left, and obviously 1 Bane is not enough to kill full HP drones. Solid defense there by SortOf. That could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, very, very good. And it's actually Lambo being aggressive, which is not something that we anticipated. The game is, of course, far from over, but this is definitely a good start for the Swede.
Yep. Now, SortOf is the one who's got way more Zerglings out on the map. It's 26 Lings, well, now against 21, as Lambo has made a few extra safety Zerglings. SortOf already attacking up while all of this is taking place. Lambo not doing that. A single Baneling looking for a juicy connection, does not get it, and that means that SortOf still has a Baneling left here. And even though SortOf may not get a devastating amount of damage done, he is working on a pretty decent tech advantage.
Yeah, beautiful defense still from Lambo, though. He does manage to pick off those weakened banelings with the queens. So even though he didn't get the banelings to pop right away, it was still good enough that he could zone them out. And this is actually a brilliant pickup from him as well. Killing off a queen that was completely off position, and now making his way here. Oh, this is kind of dangerous, but choosing not to go after drones, just with one single circling. And now taking a fight here. A few drones are going to fall from SortOf, and that's actually kind of needed from Lambo, who now has a baneling, and this is super dangerous because there are no banelings in sight for SortOf, and those banelings are going to connect beautifully onto most of the units of SortOf here, clearing a lot of the links. Will he get the hatchery? That could be lights out if he does.
In a good way, at least, SortOf is now terrified, so he's making a lot of roaches, but I'm afraid that these roaches are going to be a little bit too late to save this hatch. This hatchery will fall. It's still there against just hatchery tech. Well, Lambo's units have already made their way to the other side of the map. He's going to morph a lot of his links into banelings. Lambo is very committed, but he's obviously already done a lot of damage, but he wants more damage as he has not tacked up yet. He is transitioning at home, but he's obviously hoping to get something done with all the banelings he's morphing on SortOf his side of the map.
Yeah, 9 drones now, and like you said, he's committed. I mean, it might have seemed like the right thing to not commit to this after doing as much damage as he did, but it's gonna work out, and obviously he had already started those units before he decided it, and wow, this is tremendous damage, especially considering the drones. This is over.
It is over. Lambo takes the 1-0 lead off the back of some early aggression with the Zerglings and then a very powerful follow-up. Maybe SortOf got a bit too carried away as he had a 12 worker advantage and he was the Zerg on Lair while Lambo was still on hatchery tech. But I think it all started indeed with that queen. Cats, you were hyping it up. That's a big and brilliant pick-off, and it truly was. Because I think if that queen is just near the Zerglings, the Zergling against Zergling fight isn't that bad. And then SortOf gets a heads up that roaches are heading his way. And if he just cranks out nothing but roaches, there is a chance he holds. And if he then holds, he's got attack advantage. But it started off with a queen. How did we end up like this? Back on screen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that he really needed to add a baneling or two, right? It's that counter attack SortOf defends so nicely, like you pointed out. It was a beautiful defense from him, just absolutely beautiful, right? And then he pushes back out, which is the thing that you should do, right? Like you have the extra units, you want to at least force out units from your opponent. Lambo that gets a very good defense of his own, but then SortOf was not ready for the counter attack, essentially, right? He didn't have a baneling, and not having a baneling or two there, I think that cost him a lot. Even when Lambo is pushing out, I think you want to morph one baneling, right? Like even while fighting those links in the mineral line.
Yep. It's not that the one baneling will always give you the connection that you're looking for as a defender, but it's so much harder for Lambo to be aggressive and be decisive if there is that baneling to worry about. Because if he just sends all the links in, well, then he is in danger of losing it. So then the weird dance start where he sort of wants to attack, but he can't really attack, and SortOf indeed can buy a lot of time for himself. So yeah, a single baneling would have made his life so much easier.
Yeah, it would have been huge, right? Like it's like you're saying, it's also the fact that you can't clump up the units, so you have to send in little trickles of units to deal with the baneling, and then, you know, if you have 20 links against 3 links trying to kill a baneling, you can deal with those. So it's a very tricky thing to engage, even against just the one. And I think that would have made all the difference for SortOf. He could have had a baneling morphing, like even before moving out, or he could have just morphed it like an emergency baneling. It's just the fact that he didn't do the baneling at all, I think, that really cost him the game. So yeah, Lambo is going to take game number 1. But you see the potential of SortOf, right? Like how he defended that first attack. If he could just follow up there, that would have been, I mean, that would have been fantastic. He was in such a great position there.
I love after one of his banelings connected and one baneling was incredibly low of Lambo, he just split off one drone, attacked the baneling popped, and then the other baneling wasn't that much of a threat anymore. That was beautiful, but it's important that the follow-up is beautiful too. And unfortunately for him, it wasn't, which means that this man, who is representing the Shopify Rebellion, has taken the 1-0 lead, our German Zerg player, Lambo.
Bottom right-hand side, I think recently picked up again by Archangel, question mark. It is SortOf.
Yeah, that's been on and off.
Yeah, it's been an on-off relationship with Archangel and Cosmos and a few other guys there.
It's cool to see SortOf still around, and it's cool to see him qualifying, because I do still think he's always good enough to qualify for DreamHack. It was very strange to not see him make it into winter last year. It's good to have him back. Let's see if he can do some damage in this group.
Yes, indeed. And as we saw by the earnings, obviously Lambo has been popping off as of recently, whereas SortOf popped off like early Heart of the Swarm. But earnings, they're actually very closely matched. So both of these players very well historied and very strong in their own right. But yeah, it's kind of like SortOf is not much older than Lambo, but he's certainly the veteran in this situation.
And there was a time that SortOf was... It started to look like he was the next hot thing on the block, right? When he got picked up by Alliance. I will always remember the NASL Season 4 finals we had in Long Beach, California back then. And he was the only non-Korean, together with the Muslim, actually, to qualify for the offline event. And I think he was the only one who made it into the quarterfinals or maybe even the semis. He had a fantastic run back then. Yeah, then it just started being a little hit or miss. He had his moments when we had the WCS circuit events. I remember a top 16, a top 8 here and there, but never super consistent throughout an entire year.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with his playstyle and approach to the game. He's slow to change, basically. And so he, I think, thrived in Heart of the Swarm during Broodlord Infestor, essentially. That's the game that he loved playing, right? Like just going to the late game every time and just doing kind of like the same thing over and over, and he was just so good at that, right? Like that's why he was nicknamed Mechanics by his own peers.
Imagine getting nicknamed Mechanics by playing Broodlord Infestor. What a life.
What a life.
This is kind of funny what Lambo's doing. Lambo has been mining gas, but he's not researching Zergling speed and instead goes for a Blight kind of lair. 2 minutes and 38 seconds into the game, Lambo is stacking up. In the previous game, he didn't tack up at all. This is very quick.
Yeah, Blight kind of lair is right. This could be very fast Muta of a Roach Fake or something at the front. He's definitely going to need to wall off. You were thinking something else?
Yeah, I'm thinking of one of these weird +1 missile attack builds that Lambo did a long time ago. I feel like he's the one who started those, where you basically go up to 33 drones, I believe it is, and then you get super early +1 and a couple of roaches running to the other side of the map. But not. Well, he is restarting +1, but it could be a fake indeed, because he's already making more roaches than he used to make with it.
Yeah, he is taking three gases, and yeah, we'll see if it's a fake. I mean, the links are around. He doesn't really quite need the gas up until the lair is finished if he was to drop a Spire, but he hasn't cancelled, and there is indeed the Roach speed coming up. So you're completely right. This is going to be a +1 Roach attack. There still could be some sort of Muta follow-up, but I'd like to see a commitment and try to kill the third, because otherwise he's going to start falling behind. So yeah, we'll see what happens here.
Funny opening. I don't see Lambo go for these kinds of openings ultra often anymore. I mean, like he had that special build that I think he actually caught Zero off guard with once at the WCS in Valencia. But that's a long time ago. Things have changed. He's up to 44 workers, so that's perfect saturation in the main, perfect saturation in the natural. 3 gases up and running. And I mean, these roaches are going to have +1 incredibly quick. SortOf is replying with Carapace, but I think we all kind of prefer missile attacks over Carapace when it comes for roaches against roaches.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about, actually. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive of an upgrade, but he has it in pretty good time here. So maybe he was anticipating some Ling fights or something of the sorts, but it looks like it is indeed going to be that Carapace. Lambo taking that third now, with a very nice creep spreading from the Overlord as well to allow the Queens to come into position if need be. But hey, the Roaches are not in position, and this Link's getting a lot of damage onto that third. Over microing them, perhaps. Could have maybe gotten an extra shot there and maybe even committed a little bit of lag.
Yep. Yeah, I think SortOf is a bit confused, and I can't blame him, because if I was SortOf, I'd also be like, all right, are you attacking me? Are you doing something wild? Are you even dropping maybe a Nidus or something among those lines? It's like, really? You're just gonna tack up? And Lambo's like, yeah, that's actually what I'm doing. I've got 48 drones now. You only have 45. You may have a little more production than I do, because it's 3 hatcheries against 2. But obviously, Lambo would have defender's advantage if SortOf wants to be the one attacking. And it seems like that's what he's aiming for, is he's making nothing but Zerglings behind this. So SortOf is going to try to all-in Lambo here in game 2. He's hiding all his roaches too. Look at that. He's tucking them away in the back of the natural. And I mean, at least the Lynx will have +1, actually, +1 carapace. So they won't get 1 or 2 shotted by the roaches. But I still think it's going to be hard to pull this one off.
Yeah, most definitely. Lambo will have a 2-1 timing. So if SortOf doesn't attack until then, he will be pushing out with 2-1 almost certainly. Now SortOf is morphing a couple of Ravagers. And now it's go time. Mind you, Lambo didn't really have a very good Overlord to spot. I guess this one will see most things move out, as SortOf will move out through the normal entrance. And this is a big attack. Lambo now with 8 roaches in production. I mean, +1 Carapace will finish for him, so he will have an advantage here. If he can buy himself just a few seconds, which he should be able to. This Link's not able to find much.
I feel like this can only work if you truly have way more units than your opponent, and I don't see SortOf having that. What he does have is a little advantage when it comes to the Ravager count, but his reinforcements are going to be so slow because he's doing this of hatchery tech, which means that his roaches don't have the speed upgrade. The corrosive vials are quite juicy though, and the 2 queens of Lambo go down immediately, and this is becoming a little bit of an awkward fight for Lambo, but I still think that Defender's advantage should be able to carry him here.
Yeah, he also has that Carapace going for him, and SortOf you could see what he was trying to do with the Lynx. He was trying to surround the roaches before SortOf could retreat onto that ramp so that he could bile them, because he made so many Ravagers that would have been the ideal situation. But Lambo, very, very well done, repositioning those roaches early. As soon as the Lynx threatened, he would go back into that ramp. He would not let himself get surrounded, and it's looking like a hold from the German.
And a hold should be pretty much GG, because he's going to have a massive upgrade advantage. He's going to have a massive tech advantage. And these roaches don't have their speed upgrade, so they can